Moving on, as coronavirus originated from a cluster begins to spread in Australia's Sydney, the government has reimposed strict curbs. This now includes isolating Sydney from rest of Australia after country's states and territories imposed travel restrictions on its residents.
At 15 locally acquired cases, all of which are linked to the Avalon cluster. And obviously our continued hard effort is required to make sure that we continue that downward trend. To date, every single case we've had has been linked to the Avalon cluster, and that's the way we want to keep it. The government is monitoring the situation almost on an hourly basis. We will consider our position in relation to what Christmas and the next few days look like beyond Wednesday midnight.
The Australia Capital Territory sent a stern "do not come to us" message to Sydney. Those who wish to travel will be sent into a 14-day quarantine. Tasmania, Queensland, Victoria and South Australia imposed border restrictions and quarantine measures to prevent travellers from metropolitan Sydney or surrounding areas from spreading the virus. While Western Australia restricted entry to anyone from New South Wales, travellers from elsewhere in New South Wales, where Sydney is the state capital, will require documents showing that they are not coming from the affected Sydney suburbs. If they wish to cross state borders, Australia and New South Wales reported 15 new coronavirus cases. Until this week, the region had gone without reporting even a single case of local transmission and had lifted most of the restrictions ahead of Christmas. Around 250,000 people were ordered into a strict lockdown until next week in an effort to contain the coronavirus cluster. The New South Wales State Premier Gladys Berejiklian had made the announcement earlier, and residents of Sydney beaches are under stay-at-home orders till Wednesday. Sydney residents will only be permitted to leave their homes for either a medical emergency, exercise, grocery shopping, work or for compassionate care reasons. Limitations on public gatherings also exist, as number of people have been capped at 10 participants in hospitality venues at 300. Mass testing is being conducted in New South Wales with close to 40,000 tests in the last 24 hours. That is the highest number of tests ever performed in a single day. Rigorous contact tracing and investigation to find out the origin of the cluster is underway. And meanwhile, the growing cases have thrown the Christmas plans of the citizens into disarray.
2020 is not done with us yet, that's very clear, and nor should we be surprised. The events of the past few days, I have no doubt, are incredibly frustrating and disappointing for people all around the country who had plans in place to get together and moving between states. The restrictions in Sydney of only 10 people in a home. One of the very encouraging elements of the response so far has been the community response, with some 38,000 tests conducted yesterday. That's a record. What that shows is people are listening and they're coming forward. All of those test results are incredibly helpful to the authorities as they get on top of this and manage to map the impacts of this community transmission.